Rafael Fiziev pulled out in his fight against Charles Oliveira in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The fight's not till October 11th, but we gotta find Charles an opponent fast. Because this card is not good as is, so we cannot afford to lose this main event. And I would imagine all the lightweights would be jumping at the opportunity to fight Charles on short notice. He's coming off a knockout loss to Topuria. Charles is a big name. He might not be at his best in this fight. He's jumping back in there too soon. But it seems like there's only a few real options because it's short notice. And for some reason, probably Dana White, no one's fighting in the lightweight division. Fights aren't being made. It's unfortunate that we got to make fights on super short notice in this division. But Charles got to fight somebody. So we're going to go over all the best options. And then I'm going to tell you who's most likely to fight Charles. And I'm going to tell you who I would pick. Starting with the first option, we got Charles Oliveira versus Benoit Saint-Denis. This is a real option. Benoit Saint-Denis took little to no damage in his last fight against Mauricio Rufy. And he looked better than ever. And Benoit Saint-Denis fought in his hometown of Paris, right? Everyone from France won. I'm sure BSD's feeling good. I'm sure he's ready. I'm sure he's in shape. I'm sure he's confident. And he's not all the way across the world like Dan Hooker is. He's in Paris, not the longest flight. I think he threw his name in the hat too. BSD's got a ground game. Like I said, he looked better than ever his last fight. Why not BSD versus Charles Oliveira? Charles got the good jiu-jitsu. That'd be fun on the ground. BSD's striking's improved. You can't say Charles is going to run him over. Charles just got knocked out in one round in his last fight. And BSD beat Mauricio Rufy, a top prospect. He beat him in the striking his last fight and on the ground. So BSD might be confident, even though Charles is the better fighter, at least on paper, right? I'm really impressed by his last fight, Benoit Saint-Denis. He looked like trash against Kyle Prepelic, some newcomer, some Canadian, 2 fights ago. And then out of nowhere, his last fight, he just pulled the trigger. He looked faster, he looked sharper, he looked like he had better reaction time, better takedown setups. He looked better than ever against Rufy. This would be an exciting fight. And that's who Charles should be fighting. He should be giving someone an opportunity. I wouldn't even consider Fiziev a up-and-comer. BSD is more of the future of this division than Fiziev. This would be a better fight than the Fiziev fight even. So, good option. I like it. You know damn well BSD is in shape. Next option, we got Renato Moicano. Oh, let me move again. Moving on to option number 2. It's hard to believe that this guy once beat BSD, Renato Moicano, another fellow Brazilian. Even though Charles is more Brazilian than Moicano, another fellow Brazilian, he's putting his name in the hat. He put the eyeball emoji like he's interested in this fight. I don't think Moicano lives in Brazil. Well, I know he doesn't. He doesn't train there anymore. But he's in America, not the longest flight in the world. It's not like flying from Australia to Brazil. This is a possible fight. Is Moicano in shape? I don't know if he's in shape like BSD right now. But I would imagine he is. He hasn't fought in a minute. I'm sure he's training. Unless he's just full-time podcaster now. Because in his last fight, he kind of looked like a full-time podcaster. I like Moicano. He's usually entertaining. But his last fight was one of the most boring fights I ever seen. He didn't throw any punches. Barely threw kicks. His takedowns failed. I cannot believe this guy beat Benoit Saint-Denis like a year ago. Not even that long ago. But Moicano's definitely an option. It would be interesting because he's Brazilian. And I thought he was a good grappler. But Islam dusted him in like 10 seconds. Moicano needs to redeem himself. This is an okay option. I'm not mad at it. But there's another option, okay? Now this is a great option. And I don't know if Gamrot officially called out Charles for this Rio de Janeiro card. but I would imagine he did. He's called out Charles so many times. All I did was type in Gamrot Oliveira, and I see nothing but pictures on Google of Gamrot calling out Oliveira throughout the years. This picture right here is just one of them. He said, Do Bronx, let's go, I'm ready. He's always ready to fight Charles. And I think the UFC has been shelving Gamrot. I don't think he's fought since the Dan Hooker fight. Oh yeah, he has. They put him on an Apex card. And he redeemed himself. They put him on the Apex. I think they offered Armin to Gamrot, but Armin declined. The UFC needs to book these guys, but we're not talking about that right now. Gamrot versus Charles would be fun as hell. Did you not see the scrambles in Mateusz Gamrot versus Beneil Dariush? That's one of the most exciting fights. Did you not see the high-level grappling and wrestling scrambles and the wrestling takedown sequences between Mateusz Gamrot and Armin Tsarukyan? So Gamrot's legit. He did well against Dan Hooker. That was a split decision. Could have gone either way. Gamrot looked really impressive his last Apex main event. The UFC hates Gamrot so much, they put Macy Barber as the main event of the Apex card above the Gamrot fight. But Macy Barber pulled out. She fainted in the locker room before her fight. And that's the only reason they let Gamrot main event the Apex. Just a little side rant I had to get off my chest. But Gamrot versus Charles will be fun. The UFC doesn't appreciate Gamrot. Maybe he's had a boring fight or two, but most of the time when he fights high-level guys, he meets that skill level. And he rises to the occasion when he has high-level opponents. Him versus Dan Hooker was not boring. Gamrot versus Armin was not boring. Gamrot versus Dariush was not boring. It's not boring when he fights high-level guys. There would be crazy grappling scrambles between Charles Oliveira and Mateusz Gamrot. Damn right. This is a fun fight. Gamrot can do it. He's always in shape. He's always calling for fights. He hasn't fought in a long time. He's fought more recently than Armin, but I like this matchup. Seems like Gamrot would be very prepared. It seems like Gamrot is very prepared for Charles, and I think he would do real good. So let's look at all these options. Whoa, wait. One more. I forgot. And I hope it's not true. This is definitely something that the UFC would do, and I would be pissed. If you don't know, this is Manuel Torres. He's a decent lightweight, pretty rangy. I first saw him get knocked out at the Sphere against Ignacio Bahamadez. Then he recently had a comeback fight at UFC Mexico against Drew Dober and won by first round knockout with a straight right hand. He's a good, formidable opponent, but he does not deserve to be anywhere near a main event with Charles Oliveira. Definitely not. There would be no hype if the UFC chose Manuel Torres. There's rumors. I had to include this because there's rumors. But I know damn well he would be last on all the fans' list as opponents to fight Charles on short notice as a headliner in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Am I right or am I right? I'm right. Manuel Torres, he needs to fight someone a little bit less popular, less known than Charles. Charles is too big of a deal for Manuel Torres. Not saying Torres doesn't have a chance, but there's got to be buzz going into a fight. There's got to be hype. And Charles is exciting, and the Brazilians are always going to watch him no matter who, but Manuel Torres, no one really watched UFC Fight Night Mexico. We don't know Manuel Torres yet, so this would be the worst option, even though I could see the UFC really doing this. And the UFC would probably do this. They'd probably choose someone not in the top 15 like Manuel Torres because they would have to pay him less. Imagine Gamrot saying, hey, it's short notice. Throw me a few extra bucks. Imagine Benoit Saint-Denis saying, hey, I just fought and I'm taking a fight on short notice. Throw me a few extra bucks. You think Dana White's greedy ass is going to want to do that? Or is he going to want to ring up Manuel Torres? Hey, Manuel Torres will be flattered. He'd be flattered to take the fight for cheap because he could leapfrog the rankings, right? That's what the UFC would tell him. Hey, we'll pay you pennies, but you could leapfrog the rankings. I hope this doesn't happen, though, even though it's very possible. I'm going to get rid of the Manuel Torres option. To me, these are the obvious choices. It's down to two. Benoit Saint-Denis or Mateusz Gamrot. I'd be fine with both of those. I would be fine with either of those. But guess what? Benoit just fought. Gamrot's been begging for this fight forever. Gamrot can never get a fight. The UFC has been shelving him. This is the best way for Gamrot to get a fight, unfortunately. He's got to take a fight on short notice. This is his way into the rankings again. This is his way to start getting talked about again. And the fans don't hate him as much as the UFC does. It's overblown. We want to see Gamrot fight already. He beat Arman once upon a time. He's good. He's top notch. All right? And Charles would love this fight. Gamrot, his style would do good with Charles' grappling style. And Charles might think he's a way better striker than Gamrot. There's incentive for Charles to take this fight. I'm sure, because on paper, Charles is the better striker. No doubt about it. So Charles might feel ultra confident fighting a top-level guy like Gamrot because Charles has the striking advantage. And Gamrot's not known to do what Topuria does. You know, one-punch knockouts. That's not what Gamrot does. He plays into Charles's game. He's going to take down Charles over and over. And he's going to give Charles a chance to get a submission, cause a crazy scramble. It's a good style matchup. I think the fans win most if we get this fight. Then we could finally get some movement going in the lightweight division. BSD just proved himself a couple weeks ago, or last week, right? Let Gamrot prove himself again. You guys shelved him. You guys put him on an Apex card. No one remembers that shit. Let's try to get Gamrot a fight that we can remember, okay? Charles would accept. There's good incentive for Gamrot to accept. This is the best option. I want Charles Oliveira versus Mateusz Gamrot as the main event of the Rio de Janeiro fight night. Let me know if you agree. Hit like, hit subscribe, and comment down below. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.